Hey everybody, it's the Last Robo Kai here, and it is time for the Sisters of Battle Stronghold attack on the Imperial Guard. As I've said with the previous video, I decided what I would be doing, since Soulstorm doesn't want to be recorded as a campaign, do one particular mission just to introduce us to the faction, and then a second one where they attack a stronghold, and in the Sisters' case, the closest stronghold, and the one that I went to first when I was still thinking I was recording a campaign, is Vance Stubbs' House of Baneblades. And I said at the end of the last video, and Cool Guy started laughing then as well, that there is a bit of a fondness amongst Imperial Guards players of Soulstorm for Vance Stubbs, and it's kind of funny because at the same time the introduction to this one is a mixture of where Soulstorm sort of beefs it really bad and becomes comical in terms of its understanding of the lore of the setting, but also at the same time there's almost like a shred of, like, you could tell their hearts were in it when they were writing this, which is going to look really great because I believe when I do the Dark Eldar I'm just going to do the Chaos Stronghold, which is going to be a wonderful juxtaposition of what happens when everyone just, like, does a giant line of coke. So joining me on this adventure, as you've heard giggling in the background, is Cool Guy.
Oh man, I'm so looking forward to this. This is seriously one of the most mimetic moments of the entire Dawn of War franchise, and so few people have seen it because so many people rather reasonably slept on Soulstorm. So sit back with a cold one and a snack on this one because it's gonna be great.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting level too. So let's get stuck straight in.
The Imperial Guards headquarters in the Dusala precinct of the city planet of Kaurava 1 was also the system's primary Baneblade production facility. Under the strong and capable leadership of the new Governor-General Vance Stubbs, the Guardsmen were once again well supplied, armed, and organized. Any attacker would find themselves facing a formidable amount of firepower. Since the outbreak of the Warp Storm on Kaurava 4, the Imperial Guard had known a humbling series of setbacks. Losing a full 3/4 of their fighting men was just a start. General Stubbs was determined to triumph in the face of this and all other adversity. Unfortunately, a full regiment of Baneblade tanks, the Guard's armored superweapon, had that very day been dispatched to various territories throughout the Kaurava system. The Dusala precinct headquarters was thus left without a single Baneblade to its advantage. But they had their factories. Repair parts, munitions, and operating crews were moved via a system of convoys to the centrally located Mars pattern buildings, which produced the tanks. These convoys, then, were to be the Imperial Guard's weakest link, and also their greatest hope.
How are the men?
Tolerable, sir.
Morale?
Good at central, poor in the front.
Casualties?
The same, sir.
Firing squads?
20 today, 12 for cowardice in the line of duty.
Baneblade production?
Tank crew, munitions and parts are arriving by convoy on schedule, sir. As you know, it takes only the most highly trained crew to properly operate a...
I know.
Very good, General.
How many do we have on hand?
Unfortunately, sir, a shipment of 100 Baneblades has just gone out to serve.
I see. Look at this. Once this was a fine city, gleaming beacon of the Emperor's light, a center of industry. Now look at it. Commissar, I would like to see this city built up again. I would like to see towers and spires of gleaming white. I would like to see our men on parade routes, not tours of duty. I would like to see every city in this planet, every colony in this besotted, miserable system turn to the service and industry of the Imperium in the Emperor's name.
In the Emperor's name, sir.
But to see my dreams fulfilled, first we must wipe the system clean of these blasted Xenos and heretics and monsters and zealots. And to do that, this base, our center of command, must operate free of danger or harassment. Our troops are ready. Our tanks and our sentinels. And if the Emperor wills it, we will have functioning Baneblades. Tell me, Commissar, are we prepared? Or will we be lambs taken to slaughter? Well, we'll do what we can and pray for victory. The enhanced Basilisk cannon has been prepared by our tech priest engineers, has it not? It can be fired at will.
Very good, General.
It only requires an artillery spotter. We shall place our faith in the God Emperor.
In the Emperor's name, sir.
That will have to do the job. As always, we place faith in the Emperor.
So y'all might have noticed a little lore inconsistency there in the in the introduction there, as Vance Stubbs misplaces 100 Baneblades.
It's so ridiculous because the rest of his his speech is so good. He hits every single perfect note for a proper Governor General of the Imperial Guard. It's just that, right before he goes on this wonderful rant about his preparations and how he wants everything to be gleaming to the service of the Emperor, he has to talk about how he misplaced 100 Baneblades.
And so the reason why we talk about this being such a bizarre set of circumstances is that the Baneblade is not typically formed into regiments, as much as it's also not typically produced off of Forge Worlds, and very few Forge Worlds have access to the STC required to make them as well. So the idea that they would be mass producing them here on an Imperial world where that's not a Forge World sort of flies in the face of the lore. But it's the fact that 100 of them is kind of wild as a concept, but does play into what's going to be happening in this mission, because they will be attempting to assemble Baneblades as we play, and we will have to go and destroy the little transport chimeras that are tooting across the map, carrying components needed for the Mars pattern assembly building at the thing. I suppose when you think about it, like we already have Dawn of War already has the contrivance that you can use a Mars pattern assembly thingy to build them anyway. But even then, it's like you can build one, and I would assume the idea was that they you were putting the final touches on it, getting the crew into it, and then sending it out. Not so much the actual production of the machine. So I think it's perhaps more the idea that you're requisitioning what you need through those buildings rather than actually constructing them there, because there's no way you'd be able to build a super heavy battle tank through in such a such a small building on the battlefield. It just wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So it's an RTS contrivance.
No, it makes absolutely.
But I think they've mistakenly carried that idea over into here. Iron Law has.
So damn funny to me. Just to be clear, the incredibly powerful speech that Vance gives right after that. That's like the heart and soul of why a lot of people, particularly on 1D4chan, have incredibly positive receptions of Stubbs.
Dispatched and is currently en route.
With the enemy in the area, I want those convoys well guarded. Safe delivery of those convoys is critical.
So yeah, each of these convoys comes from a starting location. There are multiple bases, and each of those bases has a bunch of vehicles that will slowly activate once you sort of head in there and start fighting. And getting in there and destroying convoys and everything like that escalates the... Okay, the Rhinos, actually, not Chimeras. It escalates the alert level, which makes more of them pop up, etc. So we're just gonna walk over there and blam those guys. And the other thing we're gonna have to watch for later is that those spotters, which don't look like Vindicar assassins actually when they're placed on the map, will, if we bump into them on the map, because they're infiltrated, just call down an Earthshaker strike on themselves.
It's just whatever. I'm not making it out of this alive, but screw you anyway.
Basically, it's like, oh, it's spotted, killed me. And it can just wipe your shit out if you're not paying attention.
Absolutely respect the balls on those spotters. Like, all right, fine. Like, remind me, I don't know how big of a meme this was, but like when I was growing up in Virginia, there was a giant meme of it's a painting. It was just a hawk swooping in on a mouse, and the mouse was up on its hind legs, just flipping off the hawk. There is that energy going through every single one of those artillery spotters, and I respect it.
Indeed. So hey, it's time, sister chat. I've been looking forward to sister chat. For a while. I didn't bring my my codex down with me though, so I'm going to be playing it all off of memory. I'm sorry, I promised that, and then I forgot. I had all this time to prepare and didn't. But it's pretty easy to talk about anyway, because the Sisters of Battle essentially came out of the fires of the Age of Apostasy, which was all thanks to one particular fellow named Goj Van Dyer. And Goj Van Dyer has come up here and there and everywhere in 40k stuff as a historical thing, because he was a High Lord of Terror, and he was, and we said this incorrectly, we said he was the head of the Ecclesiarchy. He was, like, the last time we talked about him. He is not. He was the head of the administration, so, or the administratum, sorry, if we're going to use the fancy way that they add onto the end of everything, or archy, and archy. He was the leader of the ministramarchy, and so he was a very, very important person, to say the least, because golly gosh, the administratum, you can't function as an Imperium without an administratum. It just wouldn't work. So he was very, very strong. And at this particular point in time, the Church of the Emperor, the cult of the Emperor, had started to get pretty corrupt. They were pretty beholden to bribes and things like that. You know, there's basically we're getting into the territory of, you know, a certain modern religion before someone nailed a whole bunch of stuff to a door, sort of thing. Just to be clear, the entire ecclesiarchy is very explicitly set up to look like the Catholic Church right before Martin Luther put the theses on the door, and,
right? So,
and
like,
made everybody mad.
Just put that in your mind.
Made everybody mad with the first ever religious shitpost on a religious forum.
Look, like there are certain times that shitposts are needed, and that was definitely one of them.
He definitely got banned from that Minecraft server. So Goj Van Dyer was kind of weird because he didn't really, like, it's hard to tell if he was motivated by greed or was motivated by basically the desire to just run the shit out of things, but he understood how to use the power of money, the power of corruption, and the power of the administratum in order to essentially bribe the leader of the ecclesiarchy more or less into his service. And because, as the Church of the Emperor, they didn't answer anybody but, you know, the Emperor, who coincidentally couldn't say anything at the time because he was kind of on the Golden Throne in a comatose state, was like, they were like, yeah, we can do whatever we want. So we can hire any armies we want, you know, people will fight for us, etc., etc. So Goj was using them to get rid of people that would get in his way, and his ultimate goal was essentially to become the Emperor's stand-in. And by that same token, like he eventually started to see the problems with them as well, and ultimately Goj Vandire took over and became a High Lord of Terror with two hats, essentially a Pope hat and just like the tax collector little
the mail clerk hat.
Which fit conveniently under his Pope hat. And so he became the leader of the Administratum, and also he became the Ecclesiarch, and in turn he came to control the Officio Assassinorum, and the Telepathica and the Imperial Guard. So he had a lot of hats by the end of it. But the best hat that he would ever attain is the hat that saw him acquire the so-called Sisters of Battle. And what actually he discovered was that there was this cult on this planet, and apparently they worshipped the Emperor. And which was really funny because apparently when he first heard that, he was very upset. So he had definitely gone from the doing these for the right reasons to now I'm power mad and crazy, because your first response to, oh yeah, there's this cult on this planet that's like, that's not part of your thing, but they worship the Emperor, was to be like, I have to kill them. And then everyone was like, well, hold on a second. They had up until now managed to never be seen by the Ecclesiarchy. And it was an all-female organization, and they were known as the Daughters of the Emperor. And they basically were warrior monk women. So they were essentially learning the martial skills, combat and war and everything, but doing it in secret, whilst also venerating the Emperor. And as you can see, that we've trashed this one place. It's all going to start coming from another direction, and when we trash that one, it's going to come from another direction. So this rhino is going to be coming from a lot of different places. So we've got this bunch of of warrior nuns basically, and so Goj was like, oh, actually that sounds pretty cool, because one of the problems that he was having is that, yeah, sure, he controlled the Imperial Guard, and that was a massive fighting force, and the Ecclesiarchy as well had a large number of just, poorly equipped fanatics willing to die in his name as the Ecclesiarch. But what he didn't have was the Space Marines or the Adeptus Mechanicus on his side. Like, the Adeptus Mechanicus were like, nah, dude, we separate church and state the same way you would separate, things from your blood, by sticking it in a centrifuge and spinning it really fast. Whereas and the Space Marines were just like, fuck you. So he didn't really have a whole lot going for him in that regard. And so he was like an elite force of like really dedicated fanatical women, basically fighting in my name as my ultimate protection. Hell yeah. So he went down there and he told them, yeah, no, like, I'm blessed by the Emperor. And they were like, I don't know about that. They were a bit dubious on that one. He's going, hey, look, shoot me, and I will show you. He will protect me. And so they did. And he carried on him this thing that all the major Ecclesiarchy people carry on them. The Rosarius. Chaplains have the Rosarius as well. Space Marine chaplains. Essentially, it's an energy field that when struck by any sort of weapon that it can actually prevent, it basically transforms the projectile or whatever it is into light and disperses it. So there's a big bright flash. I believe they just call it the refraction field. They should really just call it the blindness field, because everybody in the radius is like, oh god, my eyes.
Literally a mechanic in a lot of in like Dark Heresy when a Rosarius is used. By the way,
so it that went off, and and he was just like, that was a big gamble. I didn't think they actually knew I was going to do that. I'm glad they don't know that energy fields exist, right, guys? And hopefully they don't ever learn that energy fields exist. And so, to the surprise of literally nobody, the fact that he was beginning to tax people more and more, and basically use everything in his own sort of profit, started to piss off more and more people. And then, like, the particular chapters that definitely were outspoken, Space Marine chapters definitely outspoken about his shit, he started to try to target them, which only stirred things up more. Like, one particular cardinal was directed by Goj Van Deer, or perhaps just did it because he wanted to. Also, I called that guy the cardinal in the last thing. He's actually the confessor, the arch-confessor, which is, like, whatever, same thing. I know someone's going to correct me on that. So here I am, correcting myself, a week late. But it's kind of funny because this cardinal was like, "Oh yeah, we'll take care of the Space Wolves for you, bro." So they attempted to lay siege to the Space Marine homeworld's fortress, which is, by the way, the Fang, which, by the way, is a giant mountain on a frozen planet crawling with giant wolves, possible proto-tyranids, and God knows what else, stalking in the darkness, alongside, you know, 0 degrees Celsius, like, well below 0 degrees Celsius. Like, this is Fenris is not a nice planet to go visit. And so the only reason it lasted as long as it did is mostly because most of the space wolves were elsewhere, and so they woke up Bjorn the Fell-Handed, who is one of the oldest Space Marines from the Horus Heresy era still in existence, in a dreadnought sarcophagus. One of Lemon Ross's very own retinue, who was left behind when he went off into space for no reason and never returned. Because, you know, it happens. So
LemonRoss.txt.
Yeah, you know, a lot of the Primarchs just went, "I have to go, my planet needs me," and vanished and were never heard from again. So that went really well, and a lot of other like Space Marine chapters got, you know, really tied into shit. And I think even the Imperial Fists actually led what was ultimately the attack on Terra. There was a second siege of Terra, only this time it was the Loyalists sieging it from Coach Fendier's bullshit. And so as this is going on, they can't really crack the palace because A, they don't want to destroy the palace, and B, the sisters were actually doing a fairly good job. They'd had their numbers expanded quite substantially. They were given far better resources than they'd had previously, and they were, you know, and like Space Marines themselves, they'd spent so much time in martial training. They were fanatically loyal troops, so they were actually doing a fairly good job of keeping things up. And it wasn't until the Custodes, the guys who were supposed to protect the Emperor, finally got involved, and they met up with the leader of the Sisters of Battle, who were like, "Who the fuck are you guys?" And they were like, "Well, we guard the Emperor. Do you want to come and see him?" This is mean. They actually drop Valkyrie, like, they only do this once, but they actually drop a Valkyrie full of troops directly on the back line of your base.
I was wondering why you put those turrets there, and I had some vague tugging at my memory, but I couldn't remember what.
Of course, all of my dudes are in the wrong place, so fun with that.
That's why you built the turrets.
Yeah, I built some fighter jets as well, but they're not too much. But you know, whatever. You know, they're gonna destroy a few things, but I'll rebuild it. It's fine. So
it's fine.
So yeah. So the leader of the sisters goes in and visits the Emperor, and comes back out again, and goes over to Gorge Van Dyer, who at this point had gone well and truly insane, and was ranting and raving and carrying on as he was plotting and planning and, like, you know, personally trying to run the entire "I'm going to, like, you know, kill all my enemies" operation.
Has been discovered.
And he just went, yeah, he did. And like, she basically, the canoness at the time, she called him out for it and was like, "Hey, you know, you've lied to us, you've lied to everyone, her name was Alicia Dominica, by the way." I just quickly flicked over that and it's like, yeah. And she basically said, "You have committed the ultimate heresy. Not only have you turned your back on the Emperor and stepped from his light, you've profaned his name and almost destroyed everything he is striving to build. You've perverted and twisted the path he has laid for mankind to tread. As your own decrees have stated, there can be no mercy for such a crime, no pity for such a criminal. I renounce your lordship. You walk in the darkness and cannot be allowed to live. Your sentence has been long overdue, and it is now time for you to die. And he didn't even look up. Van Dyke just went, I don't have time to die. I'm too busy. And so Dominica just went, okay, fuck you, and basically cut him down with a power sword, cleaving in half the Rosarius that he wore. You know, as a little bit of fun. It wasn't.
Full circle.
It wasn't the only thing that was, of course, happening at the time as well, because now, like, that was the Sisters of Battle, but it also ties into the reforms of the Ecclesiarchy. And one of the sort of the big things that was happening at this point was also that there was a sort of a rebellion from within the religious folks of the Imperium, who are like, look, we still love the Emperor, we still worship the Emperor, but these guys are shit. And one particular fellow was a guy named Sebastian Thor, who, as we've stated, is very well sainted, and also his head is currently in the hands of Trazyn the Infinite. I'm still not sure how he got that, but it's Trazyn, so you know, like, whatever. And so what happened was he basically started preaching against the bullshit. He was like, hey, this is bad. This sucks. You know, we could all be so much better. We need to not answer to this guy. And he basically formed this confederation of folks called the Confederation of Light, apparently. And
they shall not fly here.
There was a lot of paranoia about him, because some people were like, oh, he's bringing back some old rituals in regards to worshipping the Emperor that had been banned. He's doing all this other stuff. And so Goj Van Dyke was like, well, I'm gonna get my biggest fleet together and we're gonna go killing him. And he basically sent this gigantic fleet, and it never arrived because a warp storm wiped it out, which was named the Storm of the Emperor's Wrath. And no one likes to go there anymore because they think it's haunted. But then again, you can say that about much of the Imperium space.
To be fair to them, hashtag they are not wrong.
And as a result of this, when word that like so much of Van Dyke's forces had been destroyed, basically the entirety of that sector, and then others following, erupted into full-blown rebellion. And you know, his own people were killed. And when people of the Imperium, like loyalists of the Imperium, actually went and met him, like Space Marines and stuff, they were like, it turns out this guy's actually just he's just a normal dude. He's just a guy. He's a very pious man who believes that the Emperor is talking to him. And I mean, the Emperor is alive in a chair that blasts his psychic energy out across space. Maybe he is. So they were like, well, okay, let's side with him. And so, you know, it eventually got ridiculous and went to Terra, and that's when the siege happened. And in the wake of all of that, they made some big changes to the Ecclesiarchy, and it was actually kind of hilariously enough, the leader of this incursion on the palace was actually a Mechanicus fabricated general. So I guess the Mechanicus were just got so tired of his shit that they were just like, all right, then I'm building a big gun to shoot you. And so they went through and they did a huge sort of reformation of the Ecclesiarchy. It would never have the power it had before. It couldn't tax the people anymore like it used to be able to do. There were a lot more oversight on it, and the most important thing, which ties into the Sisters of Battle, is that they were not allowed to have like men at arms.
Men under arms.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to have men under arms, and so the Sisters of Battle are the loophole, because they are women under arms, and they don't violate the decree. And Thor was okay with this. He was just like, look, we've got to have some people on hand to protect our holy sites, because they won't always be tactically viable for the Imperial Guard or the Space Marines to defend them, right? Like, Shrine Worlds, yeah, Shrine Worlds are great. You get lots of pilgrims going around, and it keeps, like, the space travel, industry going quite nicely. But at the same time, it's like, you know, like, are you gonna defend the Forge World or the Shrine World first? So, the idea behind the Sisters of Battle is that they would provide assistance in any conflict that came up, and also primarily just acted to defend like shrine worlds and things from different attacks, because as it turns out, the enemies have different priorities. Dark Eldar are quite fond of shrine worlds because you get lots of like people who came for a religious experience and come out instead getting horribly murdered. You know, the Necrons would often be sleeping beneath the shrine worlds, and indeed a lot of the Necrons' first showings came out as a result of shrine worlds accidentally waking up the Necrons beneath them. And so a lot of Sisters of Battle were the first groups to be getting horribly murdered by the emerging Necrons. The Sisters of Battle get killed by a lot of people in the lore, but at the same time, honestly, everyone does.
Yeah, like,
the Sisters just don't get enough wins in the pocket afterwards. Is the problem?
Right, and a lot of that is precisely because they are the fighting arm of the ecclesiarchy, really, and like. It's one of the big like laughs up the sleeve is that the ecclesiarchy and all of the dysfunctions that it has is one of the big reasons that the Imperium itself is so dysfunctional. Yeah. Like the entire reason why why there is this friction between hey, are you going to defend the shrine world or the manufacturing world first, is because there is so much factionalism and so much infighting in this authoritarian system, that the entire joke is that if they could work together, even as well as like an incredibly corrupt dictatorship in the modern era, nothing could stand up to the Imperium. Nothing could. Like they have a huge amount of the galaxy, way more of the people, and tons of the talent, and they can't get their shit together.
So now at least we're not going to be getting like airdropped by any people now.
So freaking annoying. And so that's kind of like the big joke there, because like literally every other arm of the Imperium, even think of the Adeptus Administratum, right? Well, clearly no, they don't have a fighting arm. Yes, they do. It's literally called the Imperial Guard. The Imperial Guard are the men under arms for the Administratum. Well, but the text priests don't, right? No. They're called the Skitari. Like, there is a fighting force under literally every wing of the Imperium, because nobody can work together long enough to concentrate and trade their efforts.
It's true.
Nobody can.
And it wasn't the only thing that came out of it as well. The Sisters of Battle also function as the armed assistants for the Ordo Hereticus, who were also established in the wake of the Age of Apostasy. They were like, oh, hold on a second. They were like, we were somehow caught. We were looking out for like demons, and we were looking out for alien influence, and we were all looking elsewhere. We all kind of looked at Goj and went, well, he's not demonically possessed, so whatever, right? And as it turns out, traitors and heretics and those who exist within are a lot better at hiding even within our more religious organizations. So maybe we should I don't know, do something about that. So they founded the Ordo Hereticus, and so they became the go-to for hunting down like all of the deviancy in the Imperium. So mutants, not psychers, heretics, obviously people who just don't agree with the current mainstream dogma, and the traitors, the people who work from within to essentially destroy and destabilize everything. I'm going to get very fixated on killing those Valkyries.
Shipments arrived.
Very, very fixated.
I think they keep flying out even with that base destroyed.
I don't know.
So I think they do. Like that is a semantic that's way beyond my command.
Yeah, I think I give up. But
like maybe not. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Like we got tons of sister chat to talk about in the meantime. Yeah, to the point that everybody needs their own special snowflake fighting arm. Like the funniest thing about it to me is just that you know, like, one of the big reforms here is literally supposed to be, okay, you guys nearly destroyed everything because you had too much power and so on and so forth. So everybody agrees you can't have men under arms. And then it's literally within like 5 or 10 years or something like that the Sisters of Battle start getting organized. And in that very short amount of time, you would think that everybody would be like, no, I see what you're doing. You're like that's ridiculous. Like don't try that crap. No. That's not what happens. In like the 5 years that elapse, everybody's just like, yeah, you kind of do need your own dudes with guns. Like, I'm not gonna give you my dudes with guns. They're not gonna give you their dudes with guns. So you kind of just need your own dudes with guns.
And it ultimately came down to the more autonomous and self-serving elements of the Imperium were the ones that rebelled against Coach Van Dyer and united together because they didn't like someone else telling them what to do.
Many a spy.
The true irony of it all is it's like the ones that play the least well with others were the ones that had to sort the things out.
And then you know, instead of adding like process, procedure, accountability, all of those things that, you know, any kind of legitimate military or organization would need to be effective in its own right. In addition to being effective in specific theaters where they're not the only people in town, they were just like, nah, we'll just continue to silo everything. Imperium.txt. Like, don't ever wonder why these people are bad at their jobs.
Yeah, basically. Dear. So there's And it is important to note, I think, actually, that the Sisters of Battle, the Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle are really only one part of the Daughters of the Emperor. Although they have been sort of they were renamed to, like, you know, to what they are now. The Daughters of the Emperor was what they were originally called, but in true Goj Van Dyer crazy person fashion, he renamed them to something more suiting him. But one of the sort of interesting things is that they also have a few other like sections to them. Like, for example, they have the Sisters Hospitalier, which are sisters who are trained to be doctors and to go out and give care to those you know, of the Imperial faith, and they're essentially the foremost civilian surgeons of the Imperium. The medical knowledge that they glean is done so probably in a less horrible way than like the biological information that the Adeptus Mechanicus gleans, and it's all in the name of saving lives, not in like pulling them apart to figure out what's going on. So they're actually like they're pretty important, and there's also like a section of them who act as scholars. You know, essentially the kinds of people who like to read through like holy text tomes, etc. Man, that is a hell of a last cannon shot going across the way there.
Yeah, that whole boy ain't even in the same zip code.
And so, yeah, our old friend, our old friend the scribes are partially what causes the wonderful Sisters of Battle comic Demonifuge to happen. Or it might be Demonifuge. I'm not actually sure of the pronunciation of it, but that is the story of Ephrael Stern, Sister of Battle. That's her formal title, by the way. Original. Oh no.
Alright, well, this is happening, I guess.
Oh no. My big force, please don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die.
Oh, man.
It might have just not happened because we killed the gunner, but whatever. So the story of Ephrael Stern, Sister of Battle, is an interesting one. She's only just been more recently like formalized in stats and everything in the game, included as part of a more sister-centric story that was happening when the Imperium launched a crusade into a particular sphere of space that the Necrons had seemingly taken hold of. If you're wondering, those Exorcist tanks are definitely shooting those enemies there. It's just there's a visual glitch that happens with this game sometimes where they get locked in place.
Baneblade convoy dispatched.
So it looks like they're not killing things and are like shooting a point somewhere else on the map, and that can go for like forever. So don't you worry about that.
Yeah, but if you look closely, you can see the various guardsmen falling over. So that's a thing.
So the story of Ephraim Stern's Sister of Battle is it starts with the titular character scrawling things on the wall in like blood and muck of a padded cell that she's been kept in, as the sisters attempt to figure out what the fuck is wrong with her. One particular sister declares that it's obvious she's a heretic and she's going to put her out of everyone's misery, walks into the room, points the bolt gun to Ephraim Stern's head, at which point Ephraim Stern leaps on the woman, rips a demonic entity out from parasite entity out from inside of her, and crushes it. And everyone else is like, what?
Okay.
And so what begins to happen is this understanding that Ephraim Stern, Sister of Battle, I like saying that, was sent to a particular planet where, this is all going off the top of my head, I'm not reading anything as when I talk about this because I do like the story so much, I'm just going to let it all come from the top of my head, where they had lost contact with one of these groups of scribes, you know, this sequestered sister scribes who are trying to figure out perhaps some ways to deal with chaos. And unfortunately, they caught the eye of a particularly nasty demon of Slaanesh who broke into real space, corrupted quite a significant number of them, and then took all of them, all of the ones who didn't succumb, and basically bound them together as one gigantic dodecahedron with like skinned faces on it, and their entirety of their collective consciousness trapped inside. Sisters who were sent to figure that out were in turn corrupted by this Slaaneshi demon, and turned on one another, with Ephraim Stern being killed during the battle. And as a result of this, the demon made one big mistake, and he was like, he didn't think to consider what would happen if you put a bunch of human minds together. And essentially, the psychic capacity of the sisters was enhanced to the point where they were able to pump all the knowledge they had gleaned in regards to fighting chaos, because they had actually authentically gained a lot of information before he turned up. And then they pumped it all into Ephraim Stern's head as they brought her back to life, and then told her to run. So when she was picked up by the fleet who were trying to figure out what happened to the Sister of Battle strike force, the only person left was Ephraim Stern, and she wasn't really in any position to tell anybody what was going on, because she was still trying to actually like crawl out from under a gigantic library's worth of forbidden knowledge to actually be able to talk to anyone. So the comic is a lot about both her journey to re-find herself, and also like the attempts of the demon to stop her from getting there, and one particular Inquisitor's attempts to sort of figure out whether or not she's actually a good thing or a bad thing for the Imperium, and ultimately he dies in the end, believing that she is a good thing for the Imperium. Doesn't help her any, because she is left once again as the only survivor. But at least she remembers what's going on this time, and the demon is banished. At which point, she takes off to Kaurava to hide for a time. She basically just has a lot of really fucking fucked up adventures, and comes into the company of a particular like Eldar outcast who is essentially destined. He's known as the Exile. He's destined to help her out, and follow her, and die for her. And I'm guessing the reason why is because the Eldar agree that the information she's got in her head is really, really important. Ahriman, the Thousand Sun Sorcerer that's always trying to get in the Black Library, also would really like to get his hands on her and the information in her skull, so he's a bit of a problem for her as well.
I was wondering if you were going to bring in Ahriman because when you brought that up, because like the crazy thing about her is that
he's like a walking Black Library at this point.
Exactly. Like she is basically an entire shelf of the Black Library, walking around in one human being, which honestly, it amazes me still that the Eldar are written to have the reaction that they do to her. Because they agree that she needs to be protected, and that she's generally yes, she can be very dangerous, but she's also worth the risk. And it's just Really? Really? That's how you guys are taking this? Like, don't get me wrong. I genuinely love that because it's one of the most forward-thinking things that an Eldar faction is ever shown to do in any kind of Warhammer 40k stuff. So just like, yes, like that is genuinely the correct thing to do. You should support this person because she will solve problems for you. She will solve problems for you.
She will definitely fix things up for you. And so yeah, so she's not like the sisters generally agree she's not bad. They do understand how important she is. They're just sort of still really not sure. The Imperium has tried to kill her before by sending a Calexis assassin at her, but overall, like when she hooked back up with the sisters, they went through all the rigors and everything like that, checked out to make sure she was okay, just as they've done previously, and were like, well, no, we can't find anything wrong with her. She's still on the level, and so they allowed her to sort of fight alongside them. It's kind of funny like that. But she's definitely quite definitely strong and dangerous because she manifests powers far beyond what a single person should do, and it is like, and even for a sister of battle who can through faith manifest things, that's a very small number of people who can do that. Although I guess this does segue well into another important character in the Sisters of Battle, and that is Saint Celestine, who is the OG. The OG living saint, and definitely a scary prospect, because she's functionally immortal to the point that, you know, as I said before, she might just be the equivalent of what a demon prince is, but for the emperor.
Right. I've heard that simile before, that metaphor before. And like I've always appreciated it because like demon princes are not without their own will, their own personality, and their own thought processes and their own goals. But they are constantly battling with those with like the cacophony that is their patron chaos god in their head, right? Like, you can be a demon prince of Nurgle that likes to do X, Y, and Z, but you've still always got Papa Nurgle talking to you in your head, and you know, like she is definitely her own person in a lot of ways, but she is also absolutely dominated with like, for lack of a better term, the fundamental needs of order rather than the fundamental needs of chaos, just constantly going through her brain.
Right, and Celestine's backstory is kind of interesting as well as how she came about, because in the first place, like, she's one of those characters, like, until this incredibly bizarre thing happened to her, there wasn't really much to talk about with her. She was a repenting sister at the time. She was a member of the Sister Repentia Squad of the Order of Our Martyred Lady, and she died during a particularly fearsome battle. She accounted for like a very large number of enemies when she died, and when they took her body up, she had repented in death. It turned out she wasn't actually dead at all. She was still alive, and they were like, oh, okay. And so, you know, they also looked in her eyes and saw that she was touched. She had this light behind her eyes, and so they took her back and they tended to her, they cleaned her off, and then she led the Imperial forces like from the front on the battle to continue, and was just an incredible force of fucking violence and just trashed everything around. And she killed and she killed and she killed until eventually they came across this particular planet that, when she visited it, was where one of Dominica's close followers who had gone and seen the Emperor. It was a place where she had visited as well, and so Celestine, you know, found that planet. They found some ruins. She went down beneath the broken altar alone, and no one else knew what was going on there. And then the next morning she came back out again, and she was flying. She was floating above the ground, clad in glorious glowing armor with huge wings extending from her back. And like a whole bunch of doves and cherubs and shit just flying around her. And a sword, the sword of St. Catherine, the ardent blade, was in her hand. And they went, she's a living saint. Pretty good. She's a living saint. And then she took part in the she took part in the battle, and eventually she perished. Except, no, she didn't.
She didn't.
Now the way this is explained to me, or rather, the way this is explained when I looked it up a while back, is that Saint Celestine dies and she will reappear somewhere where she's needed quite often. I don't think she just walks back in the front doors of the Order of the Martyred Lady and just goes, "Hey guys, I'm back." I'm pretty sure she just comes to them in their times of need. She was there when Katia fell, and also took part in the defense of Ultramar and a few other things. So she's definitely still kicking around even today. Even though her latest death was unfortunate for her. I'll talk about that in a moment. But from the descriptions about how her journey goes, is that when she dies, her consciousness seems to go to a place in the warp, and this place in the warp is it's a lot of my people dead. Is by and large made up of corpses of her previous incarnations, and the pile is only getting bigger. And apparently she has to climb this giant pile of her own corpses to reach the top, to speak to a childlike version of herself and reaffirm, and this happens every single time, her devotion to the Emperor. At which point she whoops back into reality. She's back again, baby, and she's ready to fight. So if that ain't Demon Princehood, I don't know what's going on, but it's still kind of scary to think about. It's just like, because she could just go, I'm done, but because she is Celestine and her faith is so great, she's never going to say that. So she's going to keep coming back. And it's really funny because I'm pretty sure the latest time she died was, one of the many worlds that have been sucked into the new gouge in reality. She went there to defend its populace, and unfortunately for her, ran into Khan the Betrayer.
Oh, I forgot about
she
that
did
one. Holy
after that
crap.
one. She's back though, I'm sure. But
I'm just you can't keep a good girl down.
No, but it's still.
And Celestine is the best.
It is a wonderfully ironic fight, however, considering that Khan the Betrayer is also somebody who died and then got back up again and went, "Nah, I'm good," and then killed even more people. Just, different strokes for different folks. God, look at the pendant engines go. Aren't they so wonderful?
They are fucking horrifying.
I love my zippy heretical
this
ladies.
Entire episode. Like,
hold on, let me fix you in the field. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So that's, like, in terms of, like, the major characters, those ones are the ones that sort of stuck out to me in the first place because of, because more or less, like, those were the characters that were floating around then. There are more sisters characters that have come into being since. As my understanding, they've actually got someone who now represents the what's the best way to put it? Who basically represents the Sisters of Battle on Terra now. It's kind of weird because obviously I haven't personally thrown my head too much into the newer Sisters stuff. I will say they have like possibly the funniest piece of war gear I've ever seen. That even the Dread Knight seems kind of funny, but not nearly as funny in comparison. They've got these hilarious new. I'm gonna go look it up. So like I can't remember what they're called, but I'm just gonna.
Yeah, it's escaping me too, just because.
There we go. The Battle Paragon Warsuit, and I love these things because they're like It's very tricky to describe, but imagine you've got a sister of battle who has slipped herself into probably the biggest pair of legs she could find and then put on like a set of shoulder pads so big they carry their own weapons. That's basically what the Paragon Warsuit looks like. It's wonderfully ridiculous. I love it. It's ridiculous, and there are some that are like almost look like little chapels on their back as well. You're looking at them now, I'm guessing.
Yes, I'm sorry. Like, I can't take it seriously.
No, they are.
Like, it's gloriously stupid, but there's an emphasis on the stupid.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the Dread Knight looks like a Grey Knight carrying a Grey Knight in his on his chest, like in a baby carrier. Like it is very difficult to describe. It's very difficult to describe the battle armors. Essentially, it's like they put on like a giant suit of armor, but they're too small for it, so they've cut little arm holes out in the torso and like a little thing in the chest so that they can be seen. But you know, like if it works for them, that's fine. The new character they've created, her name is Morven Val. And she's like, originally the idea behind the Sisters of Battle is they didn't have a representative amongst the High Lords of Terror at the time because one of the previous leader had gone missing. She had basically gone off on a pilgrimage and no one had heard anything from her, but due to the technicalities of that, she was not replaced. The seat was remaining vacant until they could figure out what was going on with her. They've since, I guess, found out what's going on with her because they've replaced her now with Morven Val, and she's apparently was a political. I think it was a political assignment from what I remember reading about her, but she ended up being not so easily controlled by the different factions in the Ecclesiarchy. And she's very fond of just going in and fighting and things like that, so she doesn't like spend much time back on Terra. Like she has somebody else sort of fill in for that. Just sends them angry messages every now and again.
I heard about this administration thing and it pisses me off. You're supposed to handle this so I can just keep fighting.
Yeah, she likes her big thing. And
you guys think I'm joking, but that like if I remember correctly, one of the excerpts from one of her letters in one of the rare one of the rare Sisters of Battle codices is pretty much exactly just that. Just like I hired you so I would not be distracted, by crap I don't care about. I just want to keep fighting.
Apparently
okay.
Now, because like it is worth noting when a sister becomes a Sister Repentia, it's usually they volunteer themselves, but apparently there's like one member of the entirety of the Sisters of Battle, who is allowed to do this, and and her name is the Sister Dogmata. Like. And I've looked up her model, and all she just looks like a really gruff. Like apparently, like in each of the orders they have a Sister Dogmata. But it's just kind of funny. She just looks like really angry, and she's holding something that looks like a weapon from Fallout. It's like a stick that's like had like a holy symbol bolted inside of it. And I assume she just hits people with. And
The Emperor.
I don't even know. Like a lot of these characters, like they're carrying things like you'd expect, like the Mace of Castigation and things like that.
Sure,
it cracks me up. Like just like the name, the Mace of Castigation.
All of those things, but basically just they look less like weapons and more like torture devices that somebody just appropriated from an interrogation chamber, and it's just like this is good enough to go hit people with within the battlefield. That's more or less how a lot of the Sisters of Battle stuff for frickin' armory works, and it does a very good job of doubling down on how ridiculous all of these things are, which I am totally fine with.
Yeah, I guess the best way to put it is the Sisters of Battle still function much as like they did before in the tabletop. They have their miracles, which you primarily use by like cashing in like a build-up of like dice or points to like at critical moments, while your army mostly performs as a close ranged army with melee elements. I'd like to imagine it's probably a little easier to be able to like use your Repentia and stuff like that, assuming they've been balanced and stuff. I'm sure someone's gonna like lean in and go, no, like.
No, they're all suck. Man, I haven't played. Like I never actually like had my own army or whatever. But the last time I played the tabletop, I was like just graduating college. It was a long time ago.
I loved the tabletop game, but I just like I can't afford to keep up with it right now. I don't mean in money. I mean in time. I just don't have time anymore.
That is exactly what I was gonna say.
Even if I stopped doing this, I still wouldn't have time to paint models and play games.
Right, you know, like sitting down to a tabletop game is seriously like an all-day affair. Like you are going to be there playing for 4 to 6 hours easily. Like I remember the last time I leveled like basically that objection to a friend who was trying to basically pull me back in. Just like, dude, I don't have the time for a game that long. He's just like, oh man, that's just why you bring a meal, some beer, you make an entire day out of it. It's great. I'm just like, nah, motherfucker. In what universe do I have a day to devote to this? I don't. Nobody does.
Yeah, just don't got the time. I'd love to, but I just don't got the time.
Yeah, it will I would require a clone of me just to handle that.
God.
If that was a possible thing, I would definitely look into investing in and nurturing said clone. But I'm
just gonna say now, like my history of fiction usually tells me that if, and I'm gonna say this to everybody right now, if you ever think to clone yourself so that you can have loads of fun while your clone does all the work, don't do that. Let the clone have all the fun and live vicariously through them, because they will turn on you and kill you and subsume your life. They will 100% do this. But if you make the clone the guy who has all the fun, they'll feel real bad about it at some point. And they'll let you have some fun as well.
I have an entire derail.
Can you imagine that though? You've been cloned and the person just goes, look, I've cloned you because I don't have enough time to have fun. And then he prods finger in your chest and goes, I want you to have all the fun. Go and enjoy yourself.
Go fucking have fun. and tell me how fun everything is. Is it really? Okay.
I think that's a great way to give your clone imposter syndrome when they're already an imposter. But whatever.
I mean the only thing that accomplishes, right? like you just make a self-terminating clone. Like eventually the clone is just like, I can't take this anymore. They ask to be rejoined into you. However you're going to do that, because let's be real, by the time we're able to do consciousness transfer into a clone.
Oh, and there you go. You draw him inside of yourself, and you get to have experienced all of that fun and have all the fun memories. There you go.
Yeah,
it's genius.
See, it's the easy way to handle the problem. Though, now that you've drawn this out of me, the thing that I loved most about one particular Peter F. Hamilton series, the Void trilogy. There was there's a concept in this largely what's the word I'm looking for? A utopian society that he makes in space, called being multiple, where you basically have one consciousness driving 2, 8, or 10 bodies or whatever. And they all still kind of have their own needs, and they all have their own desires, but they share information with each other in real time, which always kind of made me think, why exactly do we have to assume that all of these clones are gonna go Blade Runner? When you look at yourself in the mirror, you recognize that at yourself. You look at yourself across the table, you realize that's also yourself. If there's one person that even a psychopath is going to be fair with, it's themselves. Are we really overthinking this? Are we actually overthinking this? And it's just like yeah, you have 3 or 4 of yourself. That's the only person you're ever going to be able to just like immediately negotiate with and be like, hey guys, we all want the same thing. All right, we're literally the same person. We all want the same thing. Okay.
That we have silenced the Imperial war machine. I mean, they weren't getting any more convoys. The game has already acknowledged this, but you know. And all that's really left is to head in, and they are still just like beaming us with their fucking find your base bullshit. Even now. We just need to destroy their command post, and this is over. And of course we will, hilariously enough, learn one of the major problems that we have with Soulstorm and try and do a campaign of it.
Oh, I'm not familiar with what you're gonna say here, so I'm looking forward to this.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm not how much longer is this? Because I can't remember. If oh no, it's not gonna be much longer at all.
Yeah,
I
almost
replayed
there.
this mission and it went much worse, just so that I could clear through it, because obviously I haven't saved in the middle of this mission, and it doesn't allow you to save afterwards for a very good reason. So let's take this thing out. We've basically just carved ourselves a nice little hole in the enemy base, so we're just gonna shuffle in and finish burning it all down.
All you gotta do is take off that last skull building there. Yeah, whatever, Saint. Like you've got it.
Yeah. Also, I got some hunter-killer missiles, so I'll just send them over as well.
The hunter-killer missiles always look so unceremonious. You're just sort of hanging out, and then it's just a bolt from the blue.
Yeah, it just lands down and cleaves up like a quarter of your health. Don't worry about it. There we go.
Alright, there we go.
All my work, crushed. All the good men who gave their lives for this cursed, this blasted system. Though my army lies in ruins today, I have not done fighting, and I will remember who my enemies are.
So, Soulstorm, if you have your graphics set to anything higher than a complete low, crashes at the end of a stronghold and also randomly after missions.
Oh my god.
From the very start of her campaign in the Kaurava conflict, had harbored great suspicion towards the Imperial Guard 252nd Conservator Regiment. Their presence in the system when the warp storm broke out was cause enough. But their stubborn, indeed blasphemous, refusal to lay down arms and accede to the governance of her Sisters of Battle was the final proof. For these reasons, the idea of making war on fellow Imperial soldiers did not trouble the Sisters. With steely conviction, purging flame, and heavy armor, the Sisters of Battle bore down on General Stubbs' army until it broke and scattered. The evident cowardice of the Guardsmen confirmed every suspicion of guilt the Canoness had ever harbored. Her original resolve was then renewed and redoubled. Every inch of the tainted system must be cleansed. Cleansed by fire.
Yeah, so I had to do that in low resolution. And,
oh my god.
And all buildings and units, they can be purchased with planetary requisition. Their costs are reduced, so that's handy at least. But that is one of the reasons why there's not going to be a full campaign of this, because the by and large the fact that the game, in order to get past a bug, requires you to make the game look and sound ugly before the end of every mission, just to make sure you get through it. When you're trying to do a recorded let's play of a game and show it off, just is kind of maddening. That and a few other problems have basically just sort of been what made me go, I am not putting myself through this. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
The stuttering noises, like I genuinely felt a fuse blow.
Oh yeah, isn't it like
echoed into my
every
skull.
time I heard that, like my bile rose, because it's just the pop, 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 and it was just like, oh, please.
It's just, I just wanted to die. I just wanted to die just hearing it.
Yeah. So that was the Sisters of Battle. I hate to leave it on that note, but you know, like I said, Soulstorm wants me to leave it on that note. So next time we will be doing the Dark Eldar, and we'll be showing them off in a mission where I hope you like heavy bolters. That's all I'm going to say about that. I hope you like seeing and hearing heavy bolters, because we're going to be seeing and hearing a lot of them. And that's for next time. I've been the Last Robokai.
And I have been Cool Guy.
And we'll see you all as we continue our little dipping of our toes and getting our toes bitten off in Soulstorm. See you later.